Coming up, the Mets shock the Cardinals in the ninth, and the Rangers win the in-state battle with the Astros. This is Locked On Now MLB.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Now MLB, local experts weighing in on the biggest stories in baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. We've got our Locked On MLB hosts here to recap everything for you from a busy Monday in baseball. We're going to start out with the Cardinals and the Mets, who saved all of their offense for the end in yesterday's biggest game.
The biggest game.
The Mets and Cardinals didn't score until the bottom of the eighth on Monday, but then they exploded for 7 runs in their final at-bats. Locked On Mets tells you how New York scored 5 of them to get the win.
What the hell just happened? The New York Mets just won a game that they had no business winning. This is Ryan Finkelstein, the host of Locked On Mets, and I cannot believe what just happened. The early part of the game was just a pitcher's duel. You had Michaelis for the Cardinals, Max Scherzer for the Mets. Scherzer was sensational through 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, just 2 hits, 1 walk. Did not get any run support, though. You get to a point after Trevor May gives up 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th where it was time to just call it a night. The Mets were going to lose that game. Then Nolan Arenado prolongs the inning with an error. Let me say that again. Nolan Arenado made an error on a play we've seen him make 100 times out of 100. Then, after that happens, you get the Mets suddenly with some clutch hitting. Jeff McNeil gets a big knock. Dominic Smith puts a ball in play. Paul Goldschmidt does a great job knocking it down, but the pitcher is late to cover. Dom dives into first. The Mets score 2 runs. Suddenly, they have a lead. The Cardinals go to the bullpen. Brandon Nimmo hits a 2-run homer. Mind blown. 5 runs in the 9th inning. The Mets win again. I'll be talking about all this with Lucas Smith of Locked On Cardinals. Don't know if he's as happy now to have this crossover episode we're about to record as opposed to what he was thinking about maybe 45 minutes ago. But you can check that all out on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Mets.
Locked On Cardinals really couldn't believe St. Louis fell apart at the end, but was far from speechless in their post-game breakdown.
That is the definition of a heartbreaking loss. Cardinals fall 5-2 to the New York Mets as the Mets score all 5 in the top half of the 9th inning. I am Lucas Smith, host of the Locked On Cardinals podcast. It was just one little thing that really cost the Cardinals at least 2 runs in this game. Giovanni Gallegos gets a ground ball to first base. Paul Goldschmidt makes a great play. Gallegos hesitates for just a moment. He doesn't get to first base in time. Runner's safe at first. Jeff McNeil runs on home, at the time giving the Mets a 1-run lead. And then Brandon Nimmo hits a 2-run home run to really put the nail in the coffin, even though the Cardinals did have another at-bat. All the momentum was with the Mets at that point. And it's upsetting because the Cardinals really played a great game for 8 innings. You know, yes, they got shut out by Max Scherzer, but Miles Michaelis was able to match zeros, as I talked about on Monday's Locked On Cardinals. Offense got it done in the bottom half of the 8th inning against the Mets bullpen. Really, you know, if you would have told me before the game started that Miles Michaelis was going to give you 7 shutout innings against Max Scherzer, you got to feel really good about your chances there as a Cardinals fan. But nevertheless, the Cardinals do fall tonight to the Mets. We'll be talking about it with Ron Finkelstein of Locked On Mets on the next episode of Locked On Cardinals. So be sure to tune in. Cardinals have to forget about it, come back tomorrow and try and win. So be sure to tune in to the next episode of Locked On Cardinals.
An in-state rivalry renewed yesterday. The Rangers and Astros played for the first time this season on Monday in Arlington, and the hometown Rangers won it with 5 runs in their last 2 at-bats. Locked On Rangers and Astros recap the first game of the year between the 2 Texas teams.
The Rangers win Game 1 of the Silver Boot Series this year, 6-2, filled by some clutch hitting by the Rangers. A great start from Dane Dunning and Adolis Garcia coming up with the biggest hit of the night, a 3-run double that looked like a home run off the bat, ended up just being a double. He will settle for not having a grand slam, instead having a bases clearing double to give the Rangers the 6-2 lead, which they would go on to finish out the game with. A great night from Dane Dunning, only allowed a couple of runs and had some really great strikeouts and great command as well. A nice offensive night for Marcus Semien for Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia, like I said, and a really big night from Willie Calhoun off the bench to come in with a multi-hit effort, scored a pair of runs, some really great base running from a guy who isn't necessarily the fastest. A great way to start off this 4-game series against the scuffling, struggling Houston Astros. The Rangers are within 1 game of the Astros right now in the standings from putting Houston in last place in the AL West. Think about that. Last place in the AL West if the Rangers win tomorrow. That's where the Astros will be. And it is a beautiful day to be a Texas Rangers fan.
We are your team every day. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. What's up? H-Town Wheelhouse here with the Locked On Astros. And the Astros, no, they didn't win. Oh, yeah, Framber actually pitched a good game, 6 innings. Oh, and Kyle Tucker got 3 hits. Jordan Alvarez went deep. Yeah, no, they lost 6-2. I know it's the Rangers. Yes, their stadium does look like a tough shed warehouse. And it does look like Minute Maid Park 2.0. And they're the Rangers. I mean, we call them the Arlington Rangers, but the bottom line is we got the old revenge weapon coming out tomorrow, Jake Odorizzi. So stay tuned in to Locked On Astros. Remember, we're your team every day. Go Stros.
A strong start on the mound and hot bats were the formula for a Phillies win over the Rockies in Philadelphia. Locked On Phillies goes over the final after Phillies' victory back at home.
The Phils take the series opener against Colorado. A good win for your Philadelphia Phillies back home at the bank after losing to the Milwaukee Brewers. You know what can happen? By the way, Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. After a game like last night where the Phillies get shut out, you can do 2 things. Either you can kind of crumple the next game and let it affect you mentally, or you can come out and you can hang 8 on the Colorado Rockies, and that's just what the Phillies did. Bryce Harper with a nice bomb, a great offensive performance, really all around from the Philadelphia Phillies, a strong starting performance from Kyle Gibson. That's what you need to start off a series when you want to win your first series since the opening one against the Oakland Athletics. It was just a great overall performance from the Philadelphia Phillies. A little bit of help from some bad defense from Colorado, but we'll take them any way we can get them right now. And hey, the Phils are now within 3 games of 500, an opportunity to go ahead and split this series with a win tomorrow against the Colorado Rockies, guarantee a split, and a chance to set up the win. It's just a beautiful start to a home series, exactly what you want to see from the Philadelphia Phillies. So a great performance, nothing to complain about tonight. Let's keep it rolling, boys. One's only 1 win. Let's get a winning streak.
Coming up, the Red Sox let the Blue Jays beat them in the late innings. This is Locked On Now MLB. This edition of Locked On Now is brought to you by Built Bar. It's the best tasting protein bar out on the market right now. They are high in protein, low in fat, low in sugar, low in carbs, but they're also made with 100% real chocolate. They also have new protein-infused marshmallow puffs bars. And if you head over to Built.com, you can use our promo code LOCKED15 and we'll give you 15% off of your order. You just put in LOCKED15 and you will get 15% off of your order at Built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Now MLB. I'm Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. We're going to continue our look around the league last night in baseball.
Let's go around the league.
The Red Sox fell on Monday after playing it close with the Blue Jays for most of the night. Locked On Red Sox tells you how Toronto took advantage of a Boston mistake to pull away in the late innings.
Another day, another routine play that probably cost the Red Sox the game. Hey, it's Lauren from Locked On Red Sox. And Boston opened its series against the Toronto Blue Jays on Monday night with a loss after tying the game in the 8th inning 2-2. But the Blue Jays responded with a strong 8th of their own, including a grand slam from Bo Bichette to essentially put the game away. However, the offense continued to stay silent, another defensive routine play gone wrong, and a strong pitching performance from Nathan Eovaldi went to waste on Monday night at Rogers Center. I'll break this all down for you on Tuesday's episode of Locked On Red Sox.
The Giants waited until the last second to start scoring in Milwaukee. San Francisco couldn't touch the reigning Cy Young winner on the mound, but Locked On Giants tells you how they got to the Milwaukee bullpen to get the win.
Wow, what a game in Milwaukee. What a road trip for the San Francisco Giants, who have this one game in Milwaukee tacked on at the end of what was already a 10-game road trip. Due to the lockout, they have this one game in Milwaukee, facing the reigning Cy Young Award winner, shut down by him all night, but a bullpen game for the Giants. They kept it close, and they rallied back in a huge way late. Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. Just a gritty, unbelievable job that this Giants team has done on this road trip as a whole and in this game as well. Giants facing Corbin Burns, and it was tough against him, but the bullpen, who pitched the entire game, kept it close, and Jock Peterson just hit another huge home run. He's just been unbelievably good for the Giants thus far. And then game was tied in the 9th inning, and Luis Gonzalez, new to the team, comes up huge and hits a 2-out, 2-run homer to give the Giants a lead that they would hold on to. So happy flight home, so well-deserved, 8-3 trip, 12-5 overall in the season. Just a great performance by the Giants. We'll break it all down on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Diamondbacks had no answer for Walker Buehler, whose complete game shutout shut down the Arizona offense all night long. Locked On Dodgers has the details on Buehler's first career shutout, and Locked On Diamondbacks goes over the 3-hit effort.
It was the Bew show in Arizona. What's up? This is Jeff Snyder from Locked On Dodgers. Walker Buehler threw his first career shutout, the first complete game or shutout of the season in Major League Baseball. Only needed 108 pitches to do it. Looked great and just had all of his pitches working, which, as we mentioned on yesterday's episode of Locked On Dodgers, it's been a command thing, getting all those pitches working together. And that's what Walker Buehler had going. The offense didn't really explode, but scored 4 runs, plenty for what Buehler needed. Vince and I are going to be with you tomorrow morning like we are every weekday morning. We're going to be talking about Buehler's performance. We're going to talk about Mookie Betts' recent resurgence, talk a little bit about Trevor Bauer, hopefully not too much, and a lot to talk about with the 40-man roster and everything that's going on with the Dodgers. But mostly we're going to be talking about how great Walker Buehler was. So be sure to check out Locked On Dodgers first thing in the morning, like you do every day. Make us your first listen because we like it when you do that. So we will talk to you soon.
D-backs get shut out at home as they lose the first game of the series to the LA Dodgers 4-0. Miller Thomas of Locked On Diamondbacks here. Merrill Kelly probably had his shakiest start of the season, but even with that being said, still 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 98 pitches thrown, the longest start of the season for Merrill Kelly, and you'll take that kind of performance. But what you won't take is the lack of offense and run support behind him, because the D-backs got shut out at home by Walker Buehler, who just came in and dominated this D-backs lineup. I mean, complete game shutout, as I already said, 10 strikeouts, didn't allow a walk. The D-backs only had 3 scoring opportunities the whole night. The D-backs bats need to pick it up because they're going against this loaded Dodgers lineup, especially with that Freddie Freeman addition. Still 2 more games, though, left in the series.
That's all for today on Locked On Now MLB. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you check out Locked On MLB and your team's specific Locked On podcast. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Now.